G2 just had a super sick run at the Blast World Finals, and today I'm going to be breaking down one of the key executes that they used against Team Liquid in the Grand Final to help them win the entire event. So let's get right into the analysis. We're going to be starting with NiKo here. So G2 don't actually play super aggressive banana early on, but once NiKo recognizes that there isn't really much pressure here from Liquid in banana, he begins to take space with a molly at sandbags and a flash. Also notice how he jump spots this angle behind the half wall to make sure that Liquid is actually giving up the space here. The next angle that NiKo takes has become pretty in the meta recently and is extremely strong. The reason that it is so strong is that it doesn't get flashed by the typical Coffin's flash. If you see in this example here, I'm going to line up the flash, and when I move back to this position, you can see that you don't get blinded at all. You gather all the information and you can actually shoot back in this position. In this round as well, HooXi is actually holding a counter flash for half wall, but I'll talk more about that later on. Moving on to the execution itself, NiKo's main objective here is to smoke off CT and to make space for his follow-up players. But let's take a look at how he actually does this. Based on some previous information that G2 had gathered, they have a bit of a read that Liquid might be using an AWP towards B. And this is mainly due to the lack of utility used in banana and Liquid's willingness to actually give so much space to G2. This is why NiKo jumps around this corner before throwing the smoke to make himself so much harder to hit. Also notice how he paths onto the site here. NiKo runs straight through to punish the site player, and NiKo is very confident that there is a maximum of one player on the site due to Yakinda making his presence known towards CT when he used utility. While NiKo doesn't actually manage to kill Nitro, G2 do an excellent job in trading him out to secure the site. So we'll move on to the next player, which is HooXi, and you can tell that HooXi is the one actually coordinating this strategy here as he sets it up perfectly in this round. Early on, NiKo finds space at half wall, and HooXi is going to set up this half wall flash. Now, this is a very simple but effective counter flash, which does a great job at punishing aggression from Team Liquid. Most people typically use this flash early on in the round to take the space, but it's also great in countering the space that the CTs might take back by flashing into half wall. Now, G2 read into the fact that Liquid are not really trying to fight for this space, so HooXi is going to throw a really important smoke to front side. This front side smoke does a couple of really great things. The first thing is that it typically tries to force out utility from Liquid. This allows G2 to have a read on the setup that Liquid is running. With this front side smoke, G2 actually eliminate 2 out of the 3 common B site setups, and you might be thinking, how on earth does he do that? Well, Liquid can't be playing double site and they can't be playing site and coffin setup. This is because the front side smoke actually denies information from these positions, meaning that Liquid must have information from CT spawn. Otherwise, if Liquid didn't use any counter utility from the site to block off, then they would just get popped on and most likely die. It's extremely risky to just allow this smoke to be up without information from CT spawn. So with this information gathered, HooXi gets set up with a flash, which I have been seeing a little bit more of recently, and this flash is often the second flash in an execute, which you can see in this situation. There's actually a god flash which goes over, and then HooXi throws in this flash. This flash blinds a lot of positions on the site, but the key thing about this flash is that it allows NiKo to progress onto the site without being blinded. The typical god flashes are great in getting the initial space in the execute, but they would end up blinding NiKo once he makes more progress onto the entry pathing. So here NiKo just follows up with the flash, and HooXi is going to follow him into the site as well to trade out. The next player is Hunter. So Hunter starts off in second mid with JKS, and together with Monezi, they eventually establish some control towards top middle. And this perfectly sets up the B pop, as Liquid now have next to 0 information as to where G2 are actually going in this round. This is why Liquid have to keep 3 players towards the A site for such a long time before they actually regain some information. However, by the time that G2 execute, it's going to be too late, as you'll see. In the execute, Hunter is going to Molotov top of second oranges and simply follow up the entry pack. This Molotov is super strong, and I would recommend basically everyone to learn it, as it takes care of 3 super strong positions on the B site: first, second, and top second oranges. When entering the site, Hunter is hyper aware of the CT push, and he makes this his main priority. His role here is to both prevent the CT push while also being in position to trade out the site player if needed, and Hunter does a great job of this here. After securing the site, Hunter starts to hunt down the remaining Liquid players, and he finishes off OC at the end of the round. Monezi is one of my favorite AWPers to watch right now. Not only does he have some insane mechanical skill, he also puts himself in the best positions to find impact. In this round here, he starts by holding for the car peak in banana. Now, notice that he is also hyper aware of the top mid line and how he pre-aims this position from T stairs. Not a lot of AWPers are actually going to be super aware of this position, and I'm really happy that Monezi takes the time to clear this out before progressing up to middle. After Liquid don't offer anyone up early on, Monezi moves to top middle to help Hunter take some space in this position. Monezi also shoots a shot here towards archers, and this is just to make his presence known. If he makes his presence known here, Liquid are going to be a little bit more aware and maybe a little bit slower in retaking the information on this position. So this is a pretty important but small detail in this position. Moving on to the execute, Monezi is going to do a very common utility set for coffins. However, let's keep in mind the order of the utility that he uses. Monezi starts off with a God Flash, followed by a coffin smoke, and then finally another CT flash. This order is very important. In this kind of strategy, you really want to catch off the CTs, and this is why the God Flash comes before the coffin smoke. If Monezi were to use the coffin smoke first, Nitro would be able to react earlier with some counter utility. Now from here, Monezi does well to cover the coffins push and also helps in shutting down the retake attempt from Liquid. JKS is the final player to go over, and as the default apartments player, he's going to use a good amount of utility early on. This is because he's not really needed in the execute itself. He's not going to be in position for that. So he mollies boiler early, and eventually he's going to smoke off jungle control as well to help Monezi and Hunter take this control top middle. In the execute, JKS isn't going to have any utility to really help out, so he's going to be effectively just an entry. He is going to be the final player to come in here and going to just mainly trade out Nitro, and he also gets a great position to catch a liege off in the retake. Eventually he also finds Naf, ending the round with a 3k. So that's the video. I know it's been a little while since I uploaded, so I hope to get back into it this upcoming year. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like to let me know, and subscribe for more content like this. Peace out.